Wagwan everybody, Lennox here from Simple123 Trader. This is the weekly outlook for the futures and currencies and Bitcoin and indices for the week of November 14th to 19th. Hope everybody's doing well and are safe. Let's take a look at what's shaping up for this week. And following up on last week's look at the markets, we started off with Australian dollar and saw that Australian dollar was going to continue its move to the downside, and it has done so over the week. And I expect another week of down moves. And overall, as you can see, it's shaping up for quite the move to the downside. So overall, right now, we had a head and shoulders, remember, back here up at the top, but we also have a larger, if you look at it in this way, a larger head and shoulders, which would be marked by a line like that, or even better, a line like that. So a breach of that line coming down and all bets are off, and we're heading down in a hurry. So a lot of weakness, and essentially what's happening here, I'm just going to put the fibs on, and we'll just see that we are retracing this move to the upside. So the expected move to the downside would be in and around 50% to 61.8%. So looking at it in that way, I would then look for a move back down. First of all, here, that's the first sort of support area. We just change these colors so that it's a little easier to see them. So that will be the first support area. So we're going to come down into that area. But in the longer term, we'd be looking for a continued move to the next area, which would be somewhere in around the 50%. So something like that in that area. And then a final one down into the 61.8% area, which would be something like that. So overall, a continued move to the downside that should take us back down into this area before we get a bounce back to the upside. So a long-term view of Aussie is very weak. But of course, this is not just going to go straight. It's going to do a little dance like that before it reaches that level. All right, so that's a look at Aussie. So for this week, shaping up, continued weakness. Any moves to the upside are just opportunities to sell. So take advantage of those. All right. Okay, let's take a look at Bitcoin. And Bitcoin has broken to new highs as was expected. This move was going to play out to the upside and break the new highs, but this might be short-lived. So be prepared for a challenge to these previous highs, but look for retraces to occur. On the daily, looking at it, you can see we're getting close to that level where, yes, we could break two new highs one more time. That's totally possible. But after that, all bets are off. We're going to be coming back down. Okay, so watch out for Bitcoin on the way down. It's going to be an interesting week with that one. Taking a look at crude oil, which has been on quite a tear, but has recently turned. So it has been, it also broke the new highs, of course, and has reached quite a level of 85, and is now pulling back. So are we done? Is this done and then we're going to come back down, or are we going to go one more time? Let's take a closer look at that. It looks to me like as if we are actually going to go back to the upside one more time. But of course, winter is coming, so the demand on energy is going to be high. So daily, that's the fundamental look at things. So on the technical side, I can see again a pull back down. We more than likely will come back down, maybe back into this level. And if it gets that far at all, first level is here, and So we're going to have a little bit of a pullback to this week. We might just actually stay in a sideways type of thing up here before we go again. So watch out for lots of volatility in oil this week, because of course the talk is about U.S. Digging into the reserves, and the Saudis and the Eastern Bloc making more or providing more oil on the market. Again, looking at the fundamentals of it. All right, so that's oil. More down first before we get a turnaround, that's for sure. Okay, let's take a look at the US dollar. Okay, so the US dollar, it's been in quite a tear to the upside recently, and as you can see, it's still quite strong. And it's broken through previous resistance here, so it looks like we're going to be continuing this move to the upside going into this week as well. So not betting against it, still looking pretty strong. Overall trajectory is still to the upside, so might get a little bit of a pullback at first, but continued strength in the US dollar going into this week. All right, let's take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum actually still is in that range. It's making new highs, but it's still coming back down into this pocket that it's in, and I think it's going to be in this range for a while. So opportunities, I think, are there for picking up Ethereum back down in the 4,000s, on a pullback. And it looks like we could breach and break these levels before we see a turnaround. So any downside in Bitcoin will definitely bring this down as well. So it's looking a little bit on the weak side going into this week. All right, let's take a look at gold. Gold also has been on quite a tear this last week. And as you can see, what I'm seeing here is that big push to the upside. We reached support level in this area, and then we're now pushing to the upside with some vigor. So I would look to continue buying gold going into this week, even though it has had quite a push. We broke through these levels, so we're in free territory. Next resistance area is up here, so opportunity, maybe a little bit of a pullback this week, just a short term, but overall we're heading to the upside for gold. Okay, let's take a look at the British pound. Let's take a look at the British pound. Ooh, that was from that news with their interest rates. They decided to, I believe they raised their interest rates. So that caused that spike in the British pound against the US dollar. So you can see it spiked, but came right back down and is continuing its trajectory to the downside. So let me take a look at this on the monthly. We'll get a better idea. So we reached previous resistance area. We've been going up quite strongly, but now we're coming back down. So looks like continued weakness in British pound, especially with a strong US dollar. That would be the trajectory for sure for the British pound. Still more down. Any moves to the upside would be opportunities to sell the British pound. Okay, let's take a look at the U.S. Russell 2000. This has been also in quite a move. We broke through to new highs after being in a sideways pattern here, and looks like we have lots of room to continue to the upside. It had a little bit of a pullback the last last week, the whole week basically, but it's looking now like it wants to continue up. I'm just going to drop to the 4-hour to take a closer look at this one, because that's very important. So we pushed back down, breached this support area, and it's looking a little bit tenuous here. We might continue down one more time. That's totally possible. Come back down into this area before we get that push again to the upside. That's a total possibility. If we do get a bounce, it might be short-lived and then we'll be coming down. So we'll see how that plays out, but watchful on that for the Russell 2000. Okay, let's take a look at the S&P 500. There it is. Okay, so it too has broken new highs in the last few weeks and has pushed with strength to the upside. So looking pretty good here as well. So I'm not going to bet against it at this point, but we're getting to a point where it's getting a little dicey. But looks like we still have one more leg to go before the panic sets in, as it were. But looking pretty good overall there. The U.S. Technology Group, let's take a look at that one. And it too, very strong, similar to the U.S. 500 and Dow. Dow is basically the same pattern as well, and we're pushing to the upside with strength. So I'm not going to bet against either of those. But what I'm seeing here is that we're heading into a last gasp before everything starts to fall apart up there. All right, one more look at one more. Look at British pound. Let's look at one of these other coins. The Dash, maybe. Sure, let's take a look at the Dash. Okay, on the weekly. Okay, so Dash is looking really strong, pushing up with some vigor. So opportunity was here in this area to buy to the upside, but it's still looking very strong. So opportunity still to buy to go back up into this area. If anyone is willing to buy at this height, it's still got room to grow to these levels. So that's a look at what's setting up for this week. If you're playing the currencies, if you're a member of the Simple 123 Trader group, we know US dollar is the key. If the US dollar has strength, we play the Aussie, Euro, and GBP and New Zealand US dollar to the downside, and USD CAD, USD Swiss, USD JPY to go along with the dollar to the upside. All right, so profitable trading to everyone. Be safe. Done now. Thank you.